All right, we are finally here on the usage of Git. So why have I mentioned it like this? 1, 2, 3 Git? Because I am going to teach you Git in 3 simple steps. I'm super excited to get started. So let's not wait even a single second and get started. So the first step is, of course, as you would have guessed, downloading and installing Git. So you can go to this website, git.scm.com, git-scm.com, and download the Git for your specific operating system. And that's it. Once it downloads, it will be a simple installation. So I am starting the installation. Perfect. So now it's just going to be a simple next. And finally it's going to get installed on your system. It might take a few seconds. It's not a very huge software, so it might just take maximum of 5 to 10 seconds, and then it will get installed. Perfect. So now it's installed and we will launch Git Bash. So Git Bash is basically where you can use your Git. So how to use that and what are the commands, I will come to it within a few seconds. Now second thing is, the most important thing is to actually configure our Git. So these were 1, 2, 3 Git. One was downloading and installing. Second was configuring. We need to configure because if we need to add our name and email address. So I'm going to add my name as git config global user.name, and I'm going to mention my name as Madhav Behel. Perfect. And then git config global user.email, and I'm going to mention it as the lean programmer @gmail.com. So we are done here. Perfect. So the second step is also done. Now the third step is the actual basic Git commands. So now let's have a look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project along with you. So just go to any of your local folders or files, any of them. I'll open a playground directory in my local system. So let's have a look into it. Perfect. And here I am going to go demonstrate you the usage of basic Git commands one by one. So first is clone. So what is the meaning of clone? Basically you can use Git Clone to clone any of the Git repositories on GitHub or on any other service, GitLab or any other. So for example, let's say I want to clone this one, Hacktoberfest 2020. So all you need to do is copy either HTTPS, SSH or GitHub CLI. So I'll just copy HTTPS, or you can just directly copy the link from here as well. And now you need to open Git Bash here. And then you can type, I'll increase the font size a little bit. Perfect. And then you can type git clone and then paste. And then it will clone into that repository. So that was the first Git command, to clone any of the GitHub repositories. And now you see all the code that was present in this Git repository is now present on your local machine as well. Now the second command is to initiate or initialize a new repository. So I'm going to create a new project called test project, and in here I am going to create a few files. Let's say a simple JavaScript file saying hello.js. I'm going to add a comment here saying ignore this, it's for one of my YouTube videos. And then I'll just say const hello equal to, and then I'm going to console.log saying hello. Perfect. So it's a simple code. Let's assume this was your project. So now how would you initialize a new Git repository? All you need to do is, first of all, let's go back to our to the folder where we have the test project. So we have it inside playground/play/test project. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to open the Git Bash here. Perfect. So now that we have the Git Bash here, now we can initiate or initialize a new Git repository. All I need to do is type Git Init, and it will initialize a new empty Git repository here. So now we can do two things. First of all, we can add various files to our Git. So there are two steps to commit basically. First of all, you need to add. Adding basically means staging the files for commit. After you have successfully added the files, that means that now your files are ready to be committed. Now for example, let's say if I had two files and the next file was test.js, and here let's say it was const a equal to 5, const b equal to 25 or maybe 20, console.log a plus b. So let's say this was your second project. Now you can either add the files individually by using git add test.js, or you can do that all at once by doing git add dot. So as soon as you do git add dot, all your files will be now added for the staging. So you can say there are two things, two areas: staged changes and committed changes. So staged changes means that now your changes are not untracked. So let's say if I had to add a new file here, let's say untracked.js, and it has something called xyz or maybe hello, something like that. So as you can see in my VS Code as well, this is added, but this is still untracked. So that is the meaning of it. Basically we have various environments. First we have to add. Now we can add all the files all at once by doing a git add and dot. Now all our files are added to the staging, and then we can commit our files. Now committing finally means saving your code. So what I need to do is git commit with a message. So every commit has a message associated with it. Why do we need that? Because let's say if you are working on a team and you had various commits, then by reading your commits, people might understand what the change was about. So a message is nothing but a simple, you can say a simple message for any viewer who is going to look at that repository in future. If he looks into that commit history, he will find a message associated with each commit, and he would be able to know what type of change was it. So I'm going to add a quick thing like, let's say added some test files. Now my changes are committed. Now you can say all of them are committed. Now it's safe. Now if I do any other changes, let's say if I do console.log test here, so this file itself is not untracked, it's now modified. There's only a single change. So by this we can actually see what all things have been changed and so on. And yes, that's the simple thing about it. We can add, we can commit, and then finally we can push as well. So to push our code to some repository, we need to have a remote repository. We need to have a remote setup. As you know, remote basically means, it's an English word, remote basically means at some other location. So until now, all of these changes, consider this to be your project. So all of this project was present only in your local machine. But that would not work if you have to work in a team. So if you want to work in a team, you need to have a remote location of the code as well. So all you need to do is create a new GitHub repository. We can create a new GitHub repository. I'll name it as test, and then, okay, test is already there. I think I need to delete that, test repo. And then I can say please ignore and to be deleted later, something like that. And then I'll press enter. So this is going to create a new repository for me. Now you can see that now we have a repository. We now have a local project. The only thing remaining is to link our local project with our remote repository. I'll repeat myself. I'll show you to instead of just telling. So this is our local project, and this is our GitHub project, GitHub repository. The only thing remaining now is to link these two things together so that we can directly push our changes there. So the only thing remaining now is to add the remote. So let me do that. Let me open this as well. So all I need to do now is git remote add origin, and then the name of the origin, or the remote, basically the name is origin here. So all I need to do is either copy this, or I can copy the URL itself, and I'm going to paste it here, git remote add origin, and then I'm going to paste it and then press enter. Now that you have added git remote add origin, now your GitHub repository is linked to your local repository. And now to push your changes to the GitHub repository, you need to use this command, git push -u, and then the name of the remote and name of the branch. Let me show it to you. So now that all of the changes that you did are tracked, all of them are committed, now you can finally push your changes to GitHub as well. And why do we call that pull? Push. So there are various things. There's something called push. There's something called pull. So pushing basically means pushing your code from local to cloud. As simple as that. Pushing basically means pushing your code from local repository or your local machine to a cloud service such as GitHub. Now, this is the syntax for the command git push -u remote, name of the remote and name of the branch. So as you saw before, the name of our remote here is origin. So I would say git push -u, and then again and again you don't need to provide a -u. This is just for the first time to set an upstream. So basically upstream basically means from your local to your remote. Local to remote is push, that is upstream. So all you need to do here is git push -u origin and the name of the branch. By default, as I told you in the previous video, by default your branch is the master branch. Now git push origin master. Although it's not a good idea if you're working on a real project to push on master branch directly, and that's why I'm going to explain you the concept of branches as well. So now as you can see, I have pushed the changes to the master branch. Let me refresh the page, and now as you can see here we have the files. Now before we go on to the concept of branches, there is one more thing, the concept of pull. I forgot to mention it here, but either way it's fine. Let me show you two more things before we go to the concept of branches. Now let's say if I made one more change and say console.log b-a. So let's say this was another change that I made, and I need to save this change as well, or I need to commit this as well. So now after committing, when you push this code to GitHub, you don't need to name the remote and the branch name again and again. So now you have already set the default upstream by using a -u flag. So all you need to do now is git. So just remember this, it's going to be super important. These three commands are super important, and you'll find yourself doing these three the most. It's going to be super most widely used commands. Git add dot, which means you have added all the untracked files to the staging area, and then git commit -m some more changes. Make sure your commit messages are meaningful. This is not meaningful. Don't get inspired by me. Make sure that you are making meaningful messages. And then you just need to do a git push. After you push it to GitHub, you are going to see that your changes will be pushed here, and you can see here there are two commits. First one was added some test files, and the second one was some more changes. Perfect. Now I'm going to show you the use of git pull. So just like push was used to push your changes from local to remote, pull is used to pull the changes from remote to local. And this is super important. Without this command, you won't be able to keep your local copy in sync with the original origin remote. So the only thing that you need to do now is you need to learn how to pull the changes. Now for example, let's say if there was one more person working on the same project, and let's say he did some changes. So I'll do this from here. So let's say these changes were done from some other computer. So console.log A into B. So these changes were done from some other computer or some other person or some other developer. So your local copy, as you can see here, this is present on your local machine. This is present on your local laptop. This is present on your local repository. But the code in the actual Git repository is having this extra line. So now your changes are out of sync. This is called being out of sync. The thing that is present on your Git repository, GitHub repository, is not the same as a thing that is present in your local repository. So we need to make sure that the changes are in sync. So all I'll do is I'll just pull it. And as soon as I pull it, as you can see, the changes appeared. So this was another thing. And now we can finally move to the concept of branches. Now again, why do we need the concept of branches? Very simple. We need the concept of branches again, as I told you in the previous video. It is something super important. If you haven't already watched that video, I highly encourage you to go back to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/theleanprogrammer. Go to the playlist section and check out this specific video in the beginner's guide to Git, GitHub and open source. This video is going to be what is Git. Here I talked about the concept of branches, which I'm going to revisit just now. So basically the branches are needed to make sure that people can work on the same code base in their different code locations. So there's a master branch which has the most deployable or the best branch, and like best in the sense it can be shipped or it can be deployed directly. And then we might need to separate out that same code. If there was no concept of branches, it would be very similar to just going here. Let's say there were two users using this code base. It would be similar to copying and pasting it here, and person X would work on this and person Y would work on this, and then they would manually merge their changes. So Git removes all that manual work. So let's say there were two person X and Y. X will make feature A and Y will make feature B, and then they will merge their branches. So now how to create a branch? Very simple. Git checkout -b new branch. So first of all, let's see the existing branches by using git branch. Git branch tells you the list of existing branches, and it also tells you the current branch with a star. Now I'm going to check out to a new branch. Git checkout -b, and I'm going to say it some new feature. Perfect. So let's say if my new feature was to adding the division rule. So here we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and now I'll add division. New feature division. Console.log b divided by a. Perfect. So now I have the new feature added. Now the only thing I need to do is, now as you can see, this is on a separate branch. This is not on master branch. This is on some new feature branch. So what I need to do is, I need to again add those changes. As I told you, the most common three commands: git add dot, git commit with a commit message, add divide feature, and then very simple git push. Now it will give you an error because the branch that you are working on is some new feature, but your default upstream is set as master. So you need to copy this, or you can directly type it out as well, but I'll just copy git push -u origin and master. Not master, some new feature. And as you can see here, now if I go back to the code, now this will have two branches. One branch is master and one branch is some new feature. If I go to this branch and then if I open the test.js, here you can see it is still the master branch is only till a plus b, b minus a, and a into b. But your some new features branch is having the division feature as well. And now the only thing remaining is to merge these branches. How can you merge these branches? Very simple, by creating a pull request. This is the meaning of pull request. So what's the meaning of pull request? when you are on a different branch, let's say some new branch, and you need to push your code to the exact branch. Why it is called pull request and not a push request? Because you are requesting the author or the maintainer of that repository to pull in that changes, because those changes, the owner is the person who is owning this repository, and he is going to pull in your changes. That is why it's called pull request and not a push request. And I can create a PR, and then I can just simply say merge. Not me, the owner of the PR or owner of the branch will say it is merged. That's it. Very, very simple. So after this is merged, we can just say, we can now even check git branch. It shows we are still on some new feature. Now even in our local code, we can check out to some other branch or the main branch, check out master, and then we can pull those changes, git pull. That is it. And git stash is a simple thing. Let's say it's a very, very simple command which some people get confused on. Basically, let's say if you were working on two features together, so what would you do? Let's say there's one feature for git checkout -b, another feature, and here let's say you made the change of, let's say console.log something like a plus b plus a, something like this. So here now let's say you have made this feature, but let's say you need to go on to some go on to some other branch without committing this feature. So the state is that you don't need to save this code, you don't need to commit this as of now, because there are more changes remaining. So now if you want to check out to some other branch, or if you want to save your changes until and unless you come back, temporarily save, not exactly save. Save basically means to commit. You don't want to commit because these are not that big of the changes, but still you might need them handy when you come back. So you can store them temporarily in the stash, or you can throw them to the stash, and that is what we call stash. So git stash. So as soon as you do git stash, these changes will disappear. So the change that we had will disappear from your current branch, and we can do a stash pop to get those changes back. You can read more about this particular command, git stash, here in this specific blog. It's a very, very good blog by Atlassian once again. So these were some basic git commands, and this was a small crash course on git. Now one thing before ending this video, you don't need to commit everything. So for example, let's say if you were using some external library. So if you were using some external library, you would know that this external library, let's say, does something XYZ. This external library is already present, is an open source library which is already present on GitHub, or it's already present on the internet. So you don't need to push this as a part of your code, because it's already available. So what you can do is you can also ignore what gets committed by creating this file called .git ignore. I just created a new file which was called .git ignore, and here I can mention the file name, let's say external library.js. I can even mention a folder name, let's say folder like this, and so on. So as you can see, now this became a little grayed out. Earlier it was untracked, and now it is grayed out, because now since we have added the name to git ignore, this means that we are not tracking this specific file. That's it. That is it for this video. Let me know if you have any doubts. I know a lot of people would have doubt in the concept of branches. So if you have any doubts in the process of branches and how to create a new branch, how to check out two different branches, just feel free to mention it in the comment section. I would love to solve your doubts in my free time, of course. But yes, cool. If you like my video, do comment, share it with your friends. Do share the whole series with friends. And once again, before going, if you like my content, if you like the free content that I'm providing you on my YouTube channel, don't forget to support my work on buymeacoffee.com/leanprogrammer. buymeacoffee.com/leanprogrammer. Perfect. That's it for this video. See you in the next video. Bye bye.